Hello and welcome to the My Land, My Choice podcast by Hunters for Hunters.
Hello, everybody. Today's date is May 18th, 2026. It's about 8 p.m. I'm presently doing an interview with Andrea. Pronounce your last name for me, please.
Zupancich.
Okay, Andrea, you are running for Minnesota Senate District 3 against Grant Hochschild. He's a Democrat over in the Iron Range area. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am currently the mayor of Babbitt. This is my 10th year as being the mayor. Prior to that, I was on council. I have my own business. I'm a realtor, so I'm a broker. I have 4 children and 2 grandchildren. So pretty diverse and jumping around from group to group and person and everything. You name it, all ages, from 2 to 99.
How long have you been a realtor?
I've been a realtor for over 20 years, so 23 years.
So if I say that you're plugged into the wants and needs of people in northeastern Minnesota, would that be a true statement?
That would be a very true statement. Very true statement.
Okay, so in your realtor business, you've seen some devastation come out against Minnesota from the Democrat trifecta coming out of the Twin Cities. I'm going to let you talk about that in a minute, but first of all, I want to explain to my viewers, when Tim Walz had the Democrat trifecta, he had full majority control of the House and the Senate, and he could pass any law he wanted to. I would talk to Republican lawmakers, and they would tell me it was a scorched earth policy. The Republicans could not slow the Democrats down on anything, which led to millions and millions and millions of dollars of fraud, which is causing our property taxes to go up. We're all paying more taxes, and they haven't really had a solution to the fraud. So, Andrew, you're up here and you're selling real estate. You're the mayor of Babbitt. You're dealing with the laws and the kickback against rural Minnesota. And so taxes are going up. Tell me what you think is happening now in the area that we're talking about.
In the area that we're talking about, I'm seeing people are penalized for taking care of their homes. They're basically discouraging people to maintain their property. Property values go up tremendously just for a simple paint job. And the thing is that people are getting taxed out of their homes. Now, they might not owe anything on their home, but they're also on a budget and they're unable to afford the rising taxes. The cities individually have been placed with the burden of making up for different mandates that are unaffordable for the small towns. And we just can't do it anymore. And it's getting to the point where I am even arguing with the assessors that the properties aren't worth it. And the assessors will tell me, well, we need those sales to go through under the tax value. And I said, they're not even appraising at the tax value. The sales are falling apart. You're not going to get any sales. So it's very difficult. I've had properties on the market for 3 and 4 years, and they're priced well below their tax value, and no one is just biting on them. And so then the homeowners or the property owners go to fight it, and, they get nothing. They're just said, okay.
So when there's fraud in the Twin Cities and spend, and the Democrats had a trifecta, they could control everything. They had an $18 billion surplus, I was told, down in the cities. They didn't just keep it. They spent it like drunken sailors. And now that's gone and they need more money. So how do they get more money? They raise our tabs on our vehicles, boat registration fees, and licensing for everything. And of course, property taxes are going up. So people, I know people that are probably drawing Social Security. They're making $1,000, maybe $1,200 a month. They own their little home, and now their taxes are going up through the roof. And the Democrats haven't quit spending any money.
No.
And you're trying to sell these properties, and it's making it pretty tough.
Right. You can't make ends meet. People then think they are able to get a better deal, and they have lived in that home. They built the home. They have their family memories there. They don't want to leave, but they have to leave. But here's the kicker. So say they sell their property and they move into an apartment building. That's just as expensive as living in their home. and they have less space, they're confined. And if you go to assisted living, that's $10,000-12,000 a month, if not more. And
Yeah.
I look at these families, and it's just it's heartbreaking. It's hard to say, I'm sorry.
It's unaffordable. We've got to rein
Yeah.
in the spending. We've got to stop it. You're running against Grant Hochschild, and I'm telling my viewers, he's a Democrat. Andrea's running as a Republican. This seat is so important that Andrea wins. And why? Because I told you that there was a trifecta, but right now it's not a full trifecta, but it's just about as bad. I understand that there's a 1-vote majority in the Senate, meaning the Democrats have 1 extra seat. And so anything they vote on party lines, Democrats win in the Senate. If Andrea were to win against Grant, everybody listen up. If she wins, it takes 1 number away from the Democrats, adds 1 to the Republican, and now the Republicans can rein in the spending. So if you're not in District 3, you're anywhere in Minnesota, you need to call your friends and family in District 3 and tell them, hey, Andrea is the person to vote for. We need to flip this seat red. This is the most important one. Dylan, do you have a map of her district to show our followers so they can check and see if they live in her District 3? So Dylan's going to pull that up here in just a second, I think.
It's 5 counties. So
Okay.
it's Itasca, Koochiching, St. Louis County, Cook County, and Lake County.
Okay. All right. So in these areas, Andrea, people need to vote like they've never voted before. They got to get motivated. You need their support. You ran last time against Grant, and there was some confusion on names. You lost by like 700 votes to Grant Hochschild.
Yeah.
And so what do you think was some confusion when you didn't get the name recognition, or what do you think happened?
I think in Hermantown, a lot of my signs were stolen, and there was also a referendum for kids recreation. And I feel that a lot of the people that went to vote just for their children in the school, they saw his name with Hermantown right behind it and voted for that, even if they were unaware of everything. Natalie Zalesnikar, she is on the House side, and she also ran, and she's in the District 3. And so there may have been some confusion because both our names start with a Z, and we both have dark hair and we both have glasses. So it wouldn't have affected my vote, but I think the name may have helped a little bit with the confusion too. But the vote of only 700 lost votes, that's not a lot.
So I wonder if people have bled enough through taxes and fraud and all the issues we're going to talk about, where they're going to say, you know what, the Democrats, there is no moderate Democrat. And when I say that to my followers, listen up, people say, well, there's moderate Democrats. It's both sides, and they're disenfranchised with the political system. But I want to tell you, when I watched my farm get destroyed, I saw Democrats vote to destroy, Republicans vote to save. It was party line voting. So people will tell you Grant is a moderate. However, when it came to the gun bill, he's only moderate when they don't need his vote, and they have enough. As soon as they need his vote, he's 100% staunch Democrat. The gun bill. What can you tell me about the gun bill that was just narrowly defeated, Andrea?
Yeah, narrowly. He was the deciding vote, naturally, on the Senate side. He voted the way he wanted to vote. He even admitted that he voted the way he felt, and he literally said he did not vote the way his constituents feel. And that is not the job of a senator. A senator is supposed to represent the constituents and vote the way they want him to vote. And so unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, the House was able to stave it back. But the Senate, it passed by 1 vote, and that would have been his vote.
So people, again, remember, do you think the Democrats, Tim Walsh right now is bragging. He says Minnesota's going to have a Democrat trifecta next fall. It's going to happen next election. We're going to get a Democrat trifecta. He wants to have his way with you again. This bill that was just defeated, the gun bill, they didn't just rip it up and throw it in the garbage, you guys. They're waiting till you give them full trifecta power. And if you do that, I'm going to sit back and chuckle, because people are going to have to line up and register all their guns, get insurance policies on their guns, a license to keep their gun, and they're going to price you out of your guns. And this is their wish list. How do we stop this from happening? Andrea Z. She needs your vote, and we'll flip this trifecta imbalance of power around. Very, very critical. Grant
Yeah.
voted against his constituents. Is anybody mad yet? I'm mad. This can't happen.
There's lots of people mad. There's lots of people mad, and we need to get those mad people to come to the voting polls. We need them to bring people. We need them to grab someone who has never voted before, have them register right there, and we need them all to vote. We need to understand how big and how important this next election is if Minnesota wants a chance to right what has been wronged.
I would say right now, your seat, Andrea, is the most important one in the state. I mean, they're all important. They're all important. Don't get me wrong, but it was
Right.
700 votes. This is one that we can flip. Okay.
This is one we can easily flip.
We need a new governor. We need a red majority in the Senate. We need a red majority, Republican majority, red in the House, and we need a new attorney general.
Yeah.
Ron Schutz is running for attorney general. I'm going to interview him maybe in about 2 weeks. We've been talking a little bit. Okay.
Nice.
Andrea, in
Mhm.
your area, there's a lot of disturbing images online, and it just drives me crazy. And I'll pretend I'm confused. I'm going to ask you some foolish question, but I understand the Republicans are going to ruin the boundary waters and they're going to mine. Can you clarify that for me a little bit?
Yeah, I sure can. I don't understand why Minnesota does not want to be the leader in this mining. We have the strictest safety standards, the strictest environmental standards. We have to be global environmentalists. Just because we're not mining here doesn't mean they're not mining overseas where there are no standards at all, and the pollution is just billowing into the airs and the waterways. And we have the ability, we have the workers, we have the technology where we can mine it safely, and we need to be able to show that, and we need to show them that Minnesota is the one that can do that.
So I'm hearing that they're mining right out of the boundary waters, and it's in fact going to destroy it. So I don't
Right.
think that's true. So is there a buffer zone of any type between the boundary waters and where they're going to mine?
There is a buffer zone. That's what it was created for. We could mine up until the buffer zone, and the boundary waters would not be affected. In fact, they increased the size of that buffer zone a few years back, but that buffer zone, to put it in terms that most people can probably understand, is 4,000 football fields. So that's a pretty big buffer zone where I'm pretty sure the boundary waters is going to be fine.
Right. So they're not dipping like a big old rusty crane into the boundary waters,
No.
and they're not putting all the pollutants back in there. 4,000 football fields length of buffer zone.
Away from, yep.
And it's going to be safe. And this is good for your area. And I want to know, why is this good for your area? Why is it good for the state of Minnesota? Why is it good for the country?
It's good for the state of Minnesota because we're going to be having jobs. We're going to have more people living here, more people contributing to taxes. Minnesota can be the leader in the safe mining industry of precious metals. So they're going to be at the forefront. People are going to want to learn how to do it, and they're going to come to us and ask us how to do that. We need these good paying jobs. People want to live here. They don't want to live in the metro. They don't want to live with all the combustion and all the crime and all the just overwhelming factors that are down in the Twin Cities. They want to live where they love to be, and they want to be able to work there and provide for their families and have a good sustainable job and the same benefits for their kids that they would have down in the metro in the school system.
So this would be good for all the restaurants, all the
Yeah.
hotels, all the guide service. People bring money, bring jobs, bring security. Economic is good. And when there's more taxes being paid by more people, if they come up and build a new house,
Mhm.
technically your taxes should go down, because we only need so much taxes, but they want more and more and more,
Right.
and they want less people to pay taxes. It doesn't make sense to me. People are
No,
hurt.
it doesn't.
They need relief.
Yes. Yes, very much so.
Okay, so precious metals are used in everything.
Mhm.
And we're rich in Minnesota, but we'd rather let that wealth sit in the ground and never use it and have us individually just keep paying all these taxes. This is
Right.
crazy. A state like North Dakota would have turned this around so fast, their property taxes would be virtually nothing and they'd be tax rich. But
Right.
Minnesota doesn't want, they want you to pay us, you people listening, to pay the taxes and leave the
Yeah.
metals in the ground and buy them from China.
Yeah,
Okay.
where they can cut us off at any time or give us a substandard product that would only damage our products further.
Sure. Andrea, I met you over there. We put on 25 meetings, Hunters for Hunters. It was a group my son Dylan started. I'm currently on the board. We're fighting for rights of sportsmen and landowners and everything else. Okay. And we're working hard. I first met you at where?
We met at the Aurora meeting, and then when you came to Babbitt, I stood up and spoke with the other senator, or not senators, the House representatives that were there.
Okay. When we were in Aurora, was that in a gymnasium with about 600 people?
Oh, it was packed. It was packed. You could see the stream of people and the dark highway, no street lights, and you just see headlights and headlights and headlights going all to that one area.
When I remember about that event is when I spoke there with Hunters for Hunters, 600 plus people in a gymnasium packed. Okay. The whole court was folding chairs, men standing there in their work clothes. They just got done with work, men and women and concerned people.
Right.
One man stood up when I handed the microphone to the state and federal lawmakers. And he said, I want to tell you something. I've owned land up here and I've hunted this land with my dad my whole life. And he says, every year we'd always have 20, 30 deer running around on all our land, and we'd shoot 4 or 5 deer and we had a great deer season. He said, the last 5 years I've hunted with my granddaughter. We haven't seen a deer. I'm 65 years old. I haven't seen a deer in 5 years. All we see is wolf tracks. If you take care of the wolf problem today, I won't live long enough to see deer back on my land. They're gone. And he said, the state wants to tell us they need money to study it. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening to the deer. I can tell you what it is. All I see is wolf tracks. All I hear is wolves. And that's new to this area. And now our deer are gone. Andrea, I showed you a picture earlier, Dylan. I'm going to ask you to put 2 pictures up, and I can't see the pictures when you put them up, Dylan, but there was a guide dog, a service dog for a kid that was immobile. And they let it outside to go to the bathroom, and it was killed in its front yard. A service dog to an immobile kid. There's no recourse for people in Minnesota. If you lose a dog, there's no payment. If you lose cows and you have one verified as a wolf kill, you get paid for one if the game warden thinks maybe it was a wolf. But if you have 20 that are simply missing out of the same pasture, you don't get a penny. So the question is, are you in favor of regulating the wolf population, not destroying it totally? Are you in favor of regulation?
Absolutely.
And making people whole? What are your thoughts? Expound on it.
Yes. Oh, yes, they absolutely should. I mean, this is their livelihood. And as you mentioned before, cows, that they can have multiple calves, not just one. And this poor dog, the service dog, there's training. That dog is not just a pet or just it's that poor child's life and way of being mobile. And how do you replace that? The only way you can replace it is monetarily, and in hopes of recouping the lost training, the lost money that in the dog, the calves, the future money that is going to bring to that farmer. So yeah, they absolutely should be reimbursed appropriately for those losses.
So I would say in Minnesota, I mean, I'm going to guess here, and I can't back this up, but if I said 1 out of 10 calves eaten by a wolf gets paid for, that's my best guess, because they don't make reports on the 10 that are missing.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
wrong.
so they don't get paid if they're missing, but they might go catch 3, 4 wolves in a pasture. And this did happen, and I can give you a name, I can look it up. And the guy was missing like 10, 11 calves that following fall when he rounded them up, and they caught 3, 4 wolves in his pasture. He's not getting paid for any of them because they couldn't find a bone. We don't pay for missing calves. So we have a problem here, okay? We have a huge problem. You would be in favor of legislation to have a wolf season in Minnesota?
Yes. Yes, I would.
You're in favor of cattle farmers being paid and made whole?
Yes, I am.
You're
Absolutely.
in, you're in favor of a service dog, if it's killed or a dog's killed, of getting paid.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's a big deal to people, especially up in your area.
It
We
is
got
a
to
big deal. It is. It's a big deal. These people's lives are affected, and we got to do something. We got to stop the madness.
Absolutely. Okay, so is there another topic on your heart right now that you feel like we should bring forward?
Well, there's lots of topics.
Okay. Go ahead. Tell me one of them that's on your mind with your campaign.
Oh, on my campaign. Well, I always started with common sense. That was what I went off of last time, and it's still going. And other politicians are picking up common sense in their slogans too. So I kind of chuckle when I see that, but it's literally common sense. And I, being a realtor, I have people coming up to me saying we're out of the state, can't stand it anymore. And I never really thought about it before. I just, you just kind of go, oh, but when someone told me that they didn't get their house price that they wanted, but they did the math, and these people were very, very particular, and they knew every number for everything. They did the math, and by them accepting a lower price on the sale of their home so they could move sooner, they made up that money, that difference threefold by being able to homestead in the state that they moved to, just in their savings on tabs, insurance, property taxes, cost of living, gas tax. And it all adds up, and they keep nickel and diming. There's a package tax, there's a there is a debt service tax now on gas. They want to do a foraging permit fee for blueberries and mushrooms. You've got higher boat taxes. Now it's also paddle boards that are and kayaks that are 10 feet or longer. You're getting taxed more on that now too. I don't know if anyone realizes that yet, but it's unbelievable. Soon they're going to be taxing air, but then they don't
Right.
know how to tax gas yet.
So people need to understand, my followers here, that anybody that sees this video, you got to understand, okay, if you live in Minnesota and a big business leaves, and we've had many leave. There was
Yeah.
a hospital business that just left. Somebody said something, I think it was maybe 3M, I'm not sure. Major businesses are bailing out of Minnesota. They don't like the policies and the laws, and they're not going to do it. Okay, so
No.
when Walz and the Democrat trifecta passed this Family Care Act in, which is, it can be ripe with abuse, where you
Yep.
can take so many weeks off above and beyond your sick leave, and you're just going to get paid.
Yeah.
Businesses can't operate in that atmosphere, so they pack up and move. But what I need you to hear here is, when businesses leave, they stop paying taxes, and so that means there's a tax shortage, and they don't know what to
Right.
do. So they have to
Right.
raise your property taxes and create new licenses for everything
Right.
and raise everything.
Because God forbid they stop spending.
Correct.
We need to keep going.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas on? And I'm taking maybe you off guard here, and if you don't, that's fine.
Okay.
How do you have any ideas on how we can make government smaller in Minnesota?
Well, how many programs can you get rid of? First of all, I mean, it's very easy. So say a program, if 80% of the fraud in or say a program has 80% fraud, well, guess what? Cut that budget 80%. There you go.
Right.
There's one cut, right? I mean,
Right.
I was one of the mayors that signed on to that letter about the fraud letter, and then it was 9 billion. And I don't understand why all the mayors didn't. It doesn't matter about if it's partisan. It was money that was being stolen from the state of Minnesota, and they knew it. And that money equated, I just kind of, divided 9 billion by all the states or cities that had mayors in Minnesota. That's 10 million per city. So we have a refurbished elementary school for our city hall, and we still have child-sized toilets in city hall. So, we could use that 10 million and we could probably get adult-sized toilets, but we're fighting for 2 million for street renovations, water and sewer, and here it's literally flying out of the states. And This all needs to stop. So you got to cut government spending, and guess what? Maybe they won't have so much fraud if they don't have any extra money to play with.
Amen. Amen. So if you're thinking how you want to vote this fall and you're watching this little podcast here, you got to realize if you want more taxes, more fees, more regulations, more licensing, and you want
Welcome to Minnesota.
if you want to chase people out of Minnesota, then don't vote Republican. But if you want to save Minnesota, you need to vote Republican. Andrea Z is who you need to vote for. This
For
is
District 3.
Andrea Z for District 3. Andrea, I had a couple people contact me. I get about 15 phone calls a day. And
Nice.
two people told me over a course of a week, as we're talking politics, they said, oh, we like Amy Klobuchar, don't we? They just don't know. People are uneducated. And Amy would be terrible. She'd be a third term for Tim Walz. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. And so here's my question. People get names confused. They get names confused. They don't know. So your name, pronounce it for me one more time.
Zupancich. Andrea Zupancich.
Okay. And what can we do to help people remember that? Andrea Z for District 3.
District 3. Yep.
Okay. State senator, soon to be.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
We got to flip it around.
There you go. We got to flip it around, and that's going to do it. That'll give the Republicans power in the Senate to stop the madness.
Right.
Andrea, if people want to donate to your campaign, is there a link? Where can they, you got a website you can direct them to?
Yes. Andrea Z for Min. So ANDREA Z for FORMN.com. And you can also go on my Facebook page, Andrea Zupancich for Minnesota Senate, and like and share my page. We need to boost that up too. And so that doesn't cost any money to do that, to just like it. And then you will be in touch with everything that we're working on, going through all the different places we're door knocking, events we're going to, programs we're trying to get going, and or stop. So yeah, for the best information.
That's fantastic. And I want to remind people one more time, Tim Walz is publicly stating next election cycle, they're going to have another Democrat trifecta. That's what he's saying. I hope and pray he's wrong. If that happens, and you're listening to this podcast, if Amy Klobuchar, third term for Tim Walz, if she wins it and they have power in the House and the Senate, the majority, and we don't flip this one seat right here, that gun bill that was just defeated, they still have it. This was the toned down version. This was toned down. They're going to amp it up. You give them power again in the House majority, Senate majority, Democrats with a Democrat governor. If this all comes true, like Tim Walz is claiming, and Andrea doesn't win, everybody can line up for gun registration and a fee. The law they quoted, you guys, said that the Minnesota BCA would create a registration system and that they would be allowed to charge a fee for the registration. So if you say, I have 8 guns that now need to be registered, and the BCA says, well, it's $200 a gun. You're going to say, your wife or somebody in your family is going to say, we're not paying $1,600 a year to keep these 8 guns.
Right.
It's coming, you guys. So go to the website, check out what she's saying. She was appalled at the gun bill. She wants to promote industry. Let's do this. Let's take some power back. Tell me again the website one last time.
AndreaZ4MN.com.
All right.
We tried making it as simple as possible, but that name is.
I know. I got you. All right. I think that wraps it up. Anything else you want to say at the last minute here?
No, I got a fun fact about Amy, though. Her name, you actually say it Klobuchar, but she did not like that for her politics, so she changed it.
Yeah, Klobuchar. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to butcher Minnesota.
Right.
Finish off what Tim Walz started. Oh,
yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of My Land, My Choice by Hunters for Hunters. Hunters for Hunters is a 501c4 nonprofit organization working for hunters and landowners' rights against governmental overreach. If you would like to learn more about Hunters for Hunters, please go to huntersforhunters.org. If you would like to support Hunters for Hunters and their mission, there are two ways you can do that. You can become a member to receive updates from Hunters for Hunters right in your email inbox, or you can donate. Both of these options can be found on our website on the memberships page. Again, that's huntersforhunters.org. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for more updates. If you have any questions, please email us at info@huntersforhunters.org. That's info@hunters4hunters.org. Thank you.